Hello, this is Derek again. I know I've been putting off my February version of my thought to ponder, but there's been so many things going on. First of all, you know about the Super Bowl, and after that, you had the Grammys and all this stuff going on. But I had to just pick basically a topic to talk about uh, for this month's thought to ponder. So basically, I've had to break it down to this: black cinema. Thought about it. Why? Because, well, you know, this weekend is going to be the Academy Awards are going to be coming up on ABC. Seth MacFarlane, who's going to be the host for this year's Oscars. Now, I know people have been talking about Django Unchained, and I know a lot of people, particularly on YouTube and other social networks, have been complaining about the movie. Like when Jamie Foxx said, "Well, gee, I get to kill white people. What's not to like?" Well, that's his character. He's a slave. Slavery was not It was not summer camp. It was not a job. It's oppression. Remember, these people were dragged in chains to work for free for life. Emphasis: working for free for life. You didn't get a lunch break in slavery. I mean, it's not a job. You get a lunch break on a job. You get vacation on a job. You get paid at a job. Okay, let's get that straight. And for someone, and you know, I mean, granted, yeah, I mean, normally people don't usually talk about, yeah, I would like to kill some people, particularly of a certain group. But my goodness, if you were snatched away in chains on a boat thousands of miles away, and you were forced to learn a whole other language, and it was forbidden for you to speak your own native tongue, not worship your own native religion, faith, or what have you, not even say your own name, and then made it against the law for you to learn the alphabet or even read or write, I mean, yeah, you want to kill somebody too. I'm just saying. I don't recommend it, but you know, if you were living in that time, you probably feel the exact same way as Django did, especially someone kidnapped your wife. But that without saying, I do have some problems with the movie Django, a lot with other black films, particularly from the last past year. Remember this movie called Red Tails about the Tuskegee Airmen? Now I talked about it one time last year, and it was a thought to ponder that I was planning on doing last year, but I thought it was futile because you know a lot of people went to see it. Well, some, unfortunately, not that many people went to see it. Not as I thought it would be because one, it was produced by George Lucas, and you know, I mean, with the exception of Howard the Duck, George Lucas don't tend to make crappy movies. You know. Now the guy who made Soul Plane, now that's a whole other story. Nevertheless, when Red Tails came out in January last year, a lot of people, even some, there were a whole lot of people were wanting to boycott it because there was a lot of George Lucas bashing because of him tweaking the Star Wars movies, the classic trilogy, special effects, you know, giving Darth Vader more emotions, what have you, just tweaking it, you know, putting, you know, remixes on the, you know, putting auto tune on the. I'm just kidding. He didn't put auto tune, but you know what I mean. And a lot of people were hating it. Like, look, just leave the things as they are. I mean, you're not going to put blonde streaks on the Mona Lisa. Why are you going to do, you know, tweak the original trilogy of Star Wars? It's understandable. But when you start, you know, talking about, you know, an historical event and say you don't like it just because you don't like the director, now that's a problem. I have a problem with that. And even more so, you had some folks, a good number of people, I don't know why, or African American descent, had a problem with Red Tails. Why the one of the pilots, you know, was checking out dating an Italian woman? Hello, they're in Italy. They're in Italy. Usually in the military, guys tend to date or marry a woman in the country that they're stationed. They happen to be in Italy. He's gonna fall in love with an Italian woman. I'm not saying that all Tuskegee Airmen did that, but those who did not go back to America, or at least at that time, stayed in Italy. Simply for the fact that, well, it was against the law for a black man to be the date or even marry a woman of another ethnicity. So, you know, granted. Now, if anyone actually seen the movie, they would know that in the beginning it says inspired by true events, which means it's not totally accurate. Not saying that every other film in the world, you know, unless it's a documentary, is 100% accurate. But the thing is, they did use poetic license to make the movie. They were in Italy. There's going to be some local women that's going to find them attractive. That's just it. That's not being racism. That's biology. Okay? If they weren't complaining about it, they were talking about boycotting it. Not just because of that one little interracial couple, but they were also talking about, well, I don't like the special effects that George Lucas, he could have done better. He did those Star Wars movies. He could have done something. Compared to what? What black film do you know that had a whole lot of special effects? Please, I'd like to know. Please, can you list me one? Besides Tales from the Hood. Besides that. Okay, one. You got one. That was made in what, 1995, almost 20 years ago? Come on, name me one. Name me one. How many blue screen, how many CGI effects you remember in New Jack City, okay? How many CGI or blue avatars you remember in Precious, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, huh? How about that? Please explain to me. I'm waiting. Come on. Come on, I'll wait. Come on. I dare you. Can't find any, huh? That's what I thought. How in the world can we get the nerve to be upset about Red Tails? Oh, we didn't like the graphics and the special effects that movie. When most black films don't have that much special effects in there in the first place, unless you count some guy wearing a fat suit and a dress. The point I'm making is this. How in the world are you going to talk about boycotting Red Tails and not boycott, say, The Help? Okay? Red Tails was based on real events, something that you rarely seen or actually never seen before in movie theaters, on the box office, anywhere in America, not that I know of, except once, but that was on HBO, so that's cable, so you really don't count that. It's a Tuskegee Airmen movie that HBO made, but it really didn't count because it didn't play in theaters. It just played on cable if you were able to afford, premium cable. So what's the point? How can you call it? That's not even a good enough comparison. That's not even close. And speaking of The Help, can you explain to me this, especially when it goes back, going back to Django? Can someone explain to me how can a 19th century antebellum slave, Django, played by Jimmy Foxx, can be more articulate than Viola Davis's main character in The Help? Can someone explain to me? I mean, I just can't wrap my head around it. I mean, you got to remember, he's a slave. It was against the law for him to be able to read and write. It was against the law for him to be able to read or write, learn the alphabet, let alone read or write. And how in the world he is more articulate than Viola Davis's character in The Help? You is kind, you is smart. Really? Really? I don't think so. No. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. No. I just can't see it. I really can't see it, and I'm just sick and tired of us boycotting stuff. I'm sick and tired of my people boycotting movies for no freaking reason. That's how The Color Purple didn't win any freaking Academy Awards 25 years ago. Remember that? Remember that debacle? I'm sure you probably have. Some who are older than I am, they know this. Remember, back in 1985, The Color Purple came out based on Alice Walker's novel. Steven Spielberg was the director of it. Had 11 nominations, didn't win a single one. You know why? Because a whole lot of black activists were boycotting the movie at the Academy Awards. Had 11 nominations. Quincy Jones was nominated for the soundtrack and being the co-producer. You had three women that was nominated in their roles. Whoopi Goldberg nominated for Best Actress. You had Margaret Avery and Oprah Winfrey both nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I mean, come on. Really? And they boycotted. And when it didn't win, the same people who boycotted the film were even more upset because it didn't win. Look, point blank, if there's a movie that you see and has more than like 4 or 5 black people nominated in this movie, here's a hint. Don't boycott it. Please. It makes no freaking sense. You're going to boycott a film because you didn't like the characters, which isn't Steven Spielberg's fault. That's Alice Walker, because she wrote the book. If it wasn't for the book, the movie would never have been made. But you're going to blame... Ugh. But then it doesn't win yet. You still mad. But you boycotted. How much sense does that make? Nothing. this past weekend, Macon, Georgia had their Macon Film Festival, and there were a lot of people with their movies, whether short films and feature films, including one that I was in called Nick Chopper and the 40 Wolves. That was directed by Morning Roast co-host Anthony Harris, which I also acted in and he acted in. He was the Tin Man. And those who don't know, Nick Chopper is the actual name of the Tin Man in the Wonderful Wizard of Oz novel, the original novel where the 1939 musical was based on. And I'm just saying, you know, if you tired of seeing Hollywood making movies out of board games and fairy tales that you heard of when you were a little kid, let's start getting them to start let's get these film festivals to get these films, you know, that are original, that are creative, and tell them to put them in the movie theaters. Put that in the movie theaters, not some rehashed stuff that you get at, you know, some little toy store, okay? How about this? How about this one right here, Assisted Fishing? This is a very good movie, and I'm not saying it because I'm in it. Well, not solely because I'm in it, but I played the voice of this iguana named Archie. It was the pet iguana of the protagonist. You know, and it's hard to get independent films, independent feature films to play in movie theaters. They need to give these independent films a chance. They need to. If they want creativity, if they don't want, you know, if they don't want Hollywood to suck for another summer full of reboots and revamps and remakes and all this type of stuff, they need to give these independent films a chance. But anyway, that's my rant. And I hope you'll be able to support independent films. I hope you'll be able to check out The Morning Roast Monday through Friday on Blog TV. So much stuff to put in. Anyway, I'm Derek, and that's my thought to ponder. See you next month.